right. Kenny, you want to kick this off?
Yeah, so Anoop and I were discussing a comment in a merge request that Dove had proposed about adjusting our language around marketplace. The use of the word marketplace in our product principles, we say we won't create a marketplace. And I think Dove is the product manager for pipeline authoring, is probably discreetly aware of in Verify, we take that to mean like we don't want to create a Jenkins style plugin marketplace where users might use that to easily get ramped up, but then because it's not maintained or it's maintained by a third party and goes out of, it's not, doesn't work with their new version that they upgrade to, leaves the user without any recourse to continue to use their critical CI pipelines as a result. And so there's this use of the word marketplace that doesn't necessarily mean commercial marketplace, and we've used it to caution away from some product improvements that we might make. And in Dove's MR, I think he's trying to clarify that he'd like to start creating some GitLab provided templates and snippets for CI YAML authoring process, which we know is difficult, and is questioning how we might adjust the language around marketplace to clarify that we do consider that acceptable. And Anoop, I think you had some concerns about that we were maybe jumping too far ahead by suggesting a change in our principle without having a very concrete example around why we might make that change.
So yeah, my understanding after reading this MR was, and that's why I asked for clarification, and Doe provided it, which is that he wants to create a place to share YAML files and possibly knowledge and solutions. So create a library of searchable packaged YAML configuration was the solution he's proposing. And that to me sounds like great. It doesn't seem to have a connectivity to marketplace and therefore a need to remove marketplace from the handbook, because I mean, most general collateral around marketplace or that people understand, and you can Google, and maybe we should add that to our handbook, which is it's a place for buyers to connect with sellers in order to, in the end goal, therefore a marketplace is to facilitate a transaction. And then once you take that and double click into that, there is a lot of things you would do to bring the buyers and the sellers and to facilitate the transactions. These could be all sorts of things, from very simple things like sharing the reviews about the sellers, like does this seller actually, is it trustworthy? Creating a very simple transactional system so that transactions happen seamlessly, and maybe the marketplace is the party that's actually transacting and then giving the cash or the whatever that transactional value is to the other person. Uh, that is very different than a place for people to share uh, YAML configurations. And we in GitLab already have a couple of things like that, right? We have, of course, the forum, which I'm guessing is not what Dove wants. Dove wants an in-product experience so that it's easy and quick. But we also have templates in our product today.
Right.
So yeah, I felt like removing marketplaces out of our handbook is allowing for a lot more to be done that this solution probably doesn't require.
Okay, cool. And I think, yeah, Dove did mention some of the solutions, and I think they're even more restrictive than a general forum type experience. I think of it more as bringing together content creators and content consumers. And the case that we are bringing them together is not like some unfettered wilderness where the content consumer might not know whether they could trust them. It would only be in GitLab's open source projects, either our documentation or in the product itself, that we would contain this content. So it would be reviewed and curated and owned by GitLab. And I think that's a great call out. One thing that maybe we can suggest then to Dove is update, maybe add the note about how we specifically think about marketplaces and what we mean by the term marketplaces, and how it doesn't necessarily need to say that it doesn't apply to this one, but add more clarification that today marketplace is left a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, and it would work. And to the best that we don't deviate from what the common understanding and definition of marketplace is, the better, because then we'll create our own vocabulary where marketplace means something very different in GitLab versus what everybody else in the world thinks of it. and that if that means we need to create something or a different word for what we are trying to do with bringing these uh, creators and users of CI configurations together, then let's figure out what that means. Uh, Snowflake, by the way, has a data share cloud thing, right? Where they
Right.
allow entities to share data with each other, which is um, and probably a degree or more of it has another degree of rigorousness because privacy is involved. There is legal issues involved. There is issues involved around is the data trustable, and if somebody uses this data to make a business decision, does the data provider now is held liable for these things? Um, we might be doing something different here.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
All right,
You can-
cool. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.